So, so had a comment on Florida Natural Farming's post from yesterday, and about the dry farming jaboticabas, kind of directly in the ground, and kind of inspired me to do an update on mine. I kind of talk about them a little bit, but not specifically in my videos. So I'll just show a couple of examples and get straight to it. So I definitely think it's possible. Location definitely matters. So I'm on the north side of my house right now, and I have a red right here. So this is when I planted in the ground. It's not much bigger than when I first planted it because it hasn't been that long, but I think it's been in for maybe a month or two, and I don't have my irrigation system running anymore, at least in the back. I do have it in the front. That's because the HOA wants the grass to look green, but I only have it running for 15 minutes on Monday, just enough to keep the grass from completely dying. If it were up to me, though, I wouldn't even have it running at all, and I would just let the native plants take over, but it is what it is. Anyways, so this is a red that I grew from seed from my mother plant on the lanai, and it hasn't been watered in a month. Now, it's been raining, so I don't know if it really counts. So it looks really good here. One thing about jaboticabas, though, is they are sensitive to intense light. And you'll notice in this spot, I've got these pigeon peas. This pigeon pea is to be grown up a bit more. I've got this June plum here. So it's always pretty much getting dabbled light. I suspect that it's not going to need any watering at all. And because it's in the rainy season right now, its roots are going to get pretty well established. And, I did mulch pretty heavily through here initially. I put, this used to just be lawn. My neighbor put his fence up. And once he put his fence up, I thought it was a good spot to plant some plants. But this used to be all lawn, so I pulled up pretty much where you can see these pavers, all the grass, and I added like cow manure and just a whole bunch of organic matter all in there. I let it sit for, I want to say, it was a couple months, and then I started planting various things in it. So I had some hibiscus in here and some like dill had planted itself, and then I put the pigeon peas in, and the pigeon peas have been in here for over a year now. And you can see all the little seedling pigeon peas popping up, and I've just been kind of pulling out the ones I don't want. Like this one here I'll keep and let it replace this one, but I gotta keep them under control because they can get pretty crazy. But all the leaf litter from the pigeon peas here has been kind of dropping and forming just a really nice, like, organic bed. So, well, literally. But since it's been a year, I think the only plant that has been in here for longer than a year is this strawberry guava and this Batanga and I have not watered these at all ever since I put them in the ground. Batanga is very drought tolerant. I've got a Eugenia piriformis in here now, which I remember before it was getting sunburnt, but you can see that where it doesn't have leaves, where it got burnt off, and then all the new growth came out. Like that's not getting watered at all either. Full sun pretty much all day. I did have this potted strawberry guava shading it out until it grew new leaves, but now I'm doing the same thing here. I put a Patomba Eugenia, what is it, Lishnathiana or whatever. I think that's its scientific name. But anyways, so this is all being basically dry farmed. Now, caveat, the neighbors could be watering on the other side, but they're not getting any direct water. But if they are watering on the other side of the fence, that could be, contributing to their success. But at least from this side, they're not getting watered. But as we move to the back and further away from the neighbor's yard, I know they're not getting any supplemental water over here. You can see everything's kind of grown up. I did have this Cherry the Rio Grande. I don't know why. It was definitely not from a lack of moisture. It just kind of just died. Not sure. But I have this red jaboticaba that I planted right near it. And I put it in when it was like a little tiny twig of a seedling. And you can kind of see where when I first put it in, I haven't watered this thing at all. Got these stink bug eggs all over it. That's annoying. Um, but you can see where some of the leaves kind of dropped off, and then after it was planted, um, then all the new growth started coming out. So that kind of mirrors what Eric was saying um, about his friend from Tampa. Um, kind of when you first put them in, they're going to drop leaves typically, but this is an almost full sun scenario, and it's not being really watered at all. I did come through. If you look at my earlier videos, this used to be a lawn, and I did come through and like mulch heavily, pretty much everything in here. But it wasn't really a heavy mulch. It was like enough mulch to kind of cover where the grass was. But then I allowed everything else to kind of pop up. So you got the Cambuca right there, which I put that in the ground. It was like a 1 or 2 gallon. I think I said a 1 gallon in the comment, but it was somewhere between 1 and 2. I don't think it was a standard size pot. But when I first put it in the ground, it didn't need water really right away. It wasn't too hot. It wasn't in direct sunlight that time of the year, at least as much. But so I did water it a couple times, and it started looking really pathetic, and it was like getting bone dry. But now, like, keep in mind, back then there was none of this organic matter here. But now I don't water it at all. And you can see all the new growth coming out of it. I think it's on its second or third flush since I put it in the ground in January, February time frame. That one doesn't need water at all. And there is no watering back here. Now here's a white Jaboticaba. This is the Plinia Oriana Bronca Mel. So it's was it sweet honey or whatever? Or white honey, I think. And this thing didn't drop its leaves at all. Keep in mind the Jaboticaba, save for the Cambuca, I planted from seed. So these were not nursery bought trees. But you can see how good it looks. Like, these older leaves are a little burnt up, but they were burnt up whenever I put it in the ground from the water in the pot. But since it's been in the ground, it just looks amazing. And it's growing up and up and up. I haven't watered that thing at all. The only thing I've been doing is kind of keeping the weeds around it from kind of choking it out. Well, these aren't weeds, these are tropical spinaches. So I got longevity spinach in here, and Suriname spinach. There's some basil growing in here. These are weeds, but they're a nice little ground cover. There's some grass in there, but most of it is edible. Here's the Biden's elbow, whatever you want to call it. It's growing in here too, which I try to keep that under control because I want mostly edible stuff. But more interestingly, well, actually, before I go to the more interesting, I've also got a yellow Jaboticaba in here. And this one's in full sun too. You can kind of see it's been burnt up. The new growth that's come out, for the most part, looks pretty good. I think it hasn't really needed water at all. I don't think I've watered this one at all. Maybe I did initially. I don't think I did. I'm about 100% on that, so I wouldn't consider this one like completely dry farmed yet. But it does well. I'll be curious to see how it looks after another year, because it's still growing its root system, and all this plant matter is kind of grown up around it. But the kind of last view I want to show are back here. So I directly sowed a Jaboticaba seed in the ground sometime last year. Let me see if I can find it. Is it right here? Yeah, right here. So this thing right here, it's a tiny little thing, but it's had no water. I just pushed the seed in the ground. There, no water from me. I haven't added any fertilizer or anything. I may have given it a little bit of Hollytone initially. I don't know, but I know I haven't given this thing any supplemental water. And it's been getting cooked in the sun, or it was getting cooked in the sun. Now I let the plant matter grow up, and it's finally starting to really get a little cadence to it. So I'll be interested to see what it looks like in a year. But I've got a couple more out front. These ones aren't doing as good. Actually, the best one I have is out front. Um, I'll show that last, but there's some on the side of the house that I just put seeds in the ground and see where they ended up. And they're kind of in the same state of the one I just showed. I think this one might be doing a little better though. I do have to mow out here, and it is a little yellow. Um, and it may be getting water from the neighbors, so I don't really talk about this one that much. Um, but like, I don't directly water it myself. Actually, it probably is getting water from the neighbors, which is why it's yellow like that, actually. Um, so there's another one here, which isn't doing too hot. I kind of wonder if the spot's not good, but I mean, this one's doing pretty well. So we'll see where those end up. But the one that I know 100% has never had any water, it was directly sown, just like the one at the back, actually planted at the same time as the one in the back, is this one right here. Now this one looks amazing, and it's maybe about a foot tall. This is another red. So yeah, so it is possible, even directly sown from seed. And I'm going to go back around to the north side of the house. If you just want to get fruit off of Jaboticaba, I would probably still suggest growing them in pots, depending on your sensitivities to, how natural you want to grow things and whether or not you're into the, or against the plastic pots and stuff. Well, you could probably grow them in a ceramic pot. It'd be fine. The red ones seem to do pretty well when they dry. You don't want to let them dry out, but I've had the reds dry out on me before, and they'll look pitiful, but they swell right back up. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of an experiment. But again, definitely growing them in pots. They grow faster. They'll probably fruit faster. And they, objectively look better, but in some cases they really don't. Like, here's some of the Orianas that I have. I mean, you can see the new growth on this one. It's got some burn on it. The one in the ground doesn't have any burn at all, except for from when it was in a pot. So, and I use rainwater on them all. So, I don't know if that proves anything or, explains anything, but just what I've experienced, and I definitely think that it is doable. And I think everyone should give it a shot. Especially if you have a plant that's already fruiting and you just have an abundance of seeds. Like, I mean, this thing is just going constantly. I have a whole bunch of seedlings over here, which I got to figure out what to do with. I'm just gonna probably give them away to people in the neighborhood and friends and family or whoever stops by. And actually, here's a good example. This thing is dried out, and look at it. Does well. That's a seedling from that tree. And some of them aren't as dry. I think that one just got dried out because it was tipped over, probably from the cats. But yeah, so definitely don't be afraid to try it. Sometimes they look like shit. Excuse my French, but I think that's just part of it whenever you're letting nature take its course. So yeah, rambling done.